Welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin. I'm Emily Pritzko, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council, and today's episode is coming to you from IBEW Local 159 here in Madison. We have a full episode for you today. In a moment, we'll be sitting down with Mike Killian, Business Manager of Local 159, for a conversation about the electrical trade and what's happening in the Madison market right now. And then we're staying right here in this hall to record a second conversation that I think is just as important. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this year, the Wisconsin Labor's District Council is launching something new, a peer support program called LEAN, staffed by 3 laborers who are just beginning their work right now. But first, Mike Killian and IBEW 159. Let's go. We are at IBEW Local 159 in Madison. Founded in 1900, this union is one of the longest standing labor organizations in Madison. That's over 125 years of electricians in South Central Wisconsin, coming together, training together, building together, and serving their community. My guest is the business manager of this local and a member of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council board. His members wire our hospitals, our schools, our businesses, and our homes. They run the power that makes everything else possible. And right here in this building, they train the next generation of electricians who will do the same. Mike, welcome to Trade Talk Wisconsin.
Oh, thanks, Emily.
For listeners who might not fully understand what IBEW Local 159 represents, who are your members, what do they do, and what does the jurisdiction of Local 159 cover in South Central Wisconsin?
Sure. So the IBEW is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and we're Local 159. So we have the Madison area, which covers Dane County, Columbia County, Sauk County, Iowa County, part of Dodge, part of Green Lake, and part of Marquette County.
That was really good. You had that down pat.
Thank you.
You have over 1,300 members doing residential, commercial, low voltage, industrial. What are the big sites your members are out at right now in the greater Madison area?
Sure. So we got, we're doing a couple multifamily projects downtown that we have some of our electricians at. The data center in Beaver Dam, Meta. We have one of our contractors doing some of the work out there. Camp Randall. We do a lot of the work for the university and down on campus, and Epic System software.
You can't be in South Central Wisconsin without talking about Epic. I feel like our other segment we're taping today also mentioned Epic. How many locals are across Wisconsin as a whole?
Sure. So there's about 15 locals across Wisconsin, which varies from doing manufacturing work to utility, which would be like the Alliance and We Energies and stuff, companies like that. And then we also have the electricians who do the work on the inside, which would be your commercial, your industrial, and your residential work.
It's a very diverse range of work you all are doing.
Yes, we have something for everybody. If they want to dig ditches the whole day, we can do that, all the way up to doing the high voltage work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is or making coffee.
Or make coffee, yes. We do have a local that represents Collectivo.
Mm-hmm. Here in Madison, you guys have called home since 1900. It's over 125 years. I believe you have a celebration coming up. What other parts of your union's history have you been able to track down as you've been preparing for your 125-year celebration?
Sure. So it's been kind of interesting looking at this, and we were founded just 10 years after the whole International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers was founded. So they were founded in 1890, so we were just 10 years after that. So we're one of the first ones that was able to be founded from that. One of the interesting things that we had found out is back in the day, there was a split in the IBEW, and we were part of that for a brief period of time, but then we came back into the international portion of it.
What do you mean by a split? Like there was another union that formed for electricians?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know anything more about what happened there?
Sure. So there was some early on in the beginnings of the organizations that there was some differences of opinions in how they wanted it to look. So there was a faction that had split off, and there was a portion of that where different locals went with it, and part of ours went with that other faction, and then another portion stayed, and then after I think it was just a couple years, then everybody came back together, and we stayed 159.
I had no idea about that. That's really interesting IBEW trivia.
Yeah.
Well, now electricians work under the IBEW on everything from wiring in someone's home to massive commercial projects to cutting edge technology infrastructure. What's the most interesting or unexpected project that your members have worked on recently?
Boy, probably the data center and just some of the technologies that's coming through that. And even with just the technology that's coming in our industry as a whole. I mean, when you start thinking that they're going to be powering more and more things just over the Ethernet, lighting, and so even receptacles that you're just going to be able to pull a data cable to, and they're going to be able to run the power through that. Even just wireless electricity, that's where the technology is going, and just be able to see where that is and what's coming in the future. It's very interesting.
I'm afraid to ask a follow-up question about that because I feel like my knowledge or lack thereof will be so apparent. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the wireless electricity?
Sure. So it's kind of the technology that's coming is very similar to how you're charging your phone, or
okay, I see.
you know,
Okay.
or like how they're even putting this technology in roads to recharge vehicles that are battery operated, so electric vehicles. They'll be able to do that and just run on the road and charge them as you go. It's very much similar to that same technology.
Sounds like a lot of work for electricians. A lot of hours in training.
Yeah, it sounds like things will be progressing, as we get into the future.
Very cool. Well, it is seeming like it's the answer to everything right now. EVs, heat pumps, decarbonization across the board is a really hot topic. What will you think it will take to rewire Wisconsin's infrastructure over the next decade? We're both at the state level and the national level in a huge renaissance of rewiring everything. Is there anything that stresses you out a little bit to think about?
Probably just the amount of work that's there and the lack of people to do it. That's probably the biggest thing. And you're right, there's big changes coming, like we were just talking about with the wireless electricity, and just that whole technology, how that's going to work. AI isn't going away, so the amount of work that'll be involved with that, whether it's self-driving vehicles and electric vehicles, and just like you were saying, the electrification of kind of everything, the amount of people that it will take to build that and to keep it going is going to be tremendous, and there's just not that many people around.
We will get to that shortly. I do want to take a little detour before we get too far in and talk about you. When did you become an electrician? When did you get into the electrical trade?
Boy, you're going to kind of date me.
That's the point.
So I got in about 34 years ago, and I got in the trade and started then.
Do you remember your first day on a job site?
Kind of. When I first got in, I was kind of, I wasn't sure kind of what to expect. And I just thought, well, geez, being an electrician, what am I going to be doing? Changing light bulbs all day long? And I just don't see how I'm going to be able to do that and sustain doing that until I realized, boy, this is a lot more than just doing that.
What made you go into that particular craft? A lot of people I talk to, it's a family history or relative that's done it. Was that the case for you?
Yes and no. It was. I really wasn't looking to get specifically get in the electrical trade. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and my uncle who lived in Illinois was a lineman, and so he kind of suggested checking out the IBEW. And again, he was a lineman, but I had went into the inside part of it, because when I reached out to the IBEW, it was this is what was available. And then as I was a kid, my neighbor growing up had a friend that was an electrician that was looking for help, and it was just kind of at the same time, so fate and lined me up, and the rest is history.
What's your favorite part of the job now as business manager?
Just seeing how far we progressed and trying to keep progressing and getting along the ways that we can do to help our members to get the good wages and benefits that we do.
Do you have any other big goals? You just not too long ago started your second term as business manager. Anything on the horizon that you're looking to accomplish in this term?
Like to get. We just got a good contract for our limited energy members, and we go into negotiations for our inside electricians this next summer, and hoping to get them a good raise, probably the biggest raises that we've seen in our local. So, and at least maintaining our medical benefits, which are really good with that, and looking just to kind of advance us a little bit, and better training, like we were talking with some of the technology that's coming, and hopefully we can get some of that training available too. Expand our training program.
That's a good segue. Our next question is about your training program. We're right here in your training center. It's a relatively new building for you guys, correct? Is it 2 years?
Yeah, we're coming up on 3 years that we've been in this location. So we needed to get a little bit more space for the amount of apprentices that we're taking in. So we had to expand our training facilities. So we did that. That was one of the reasons why we had bought this building, and because it gives us room to grow and expand our apprenticeship. So we still use Madison College for our day school, but then for continuing education classes for our members, for our journeymen and other classifications that we have, we offer training here and night school for our apprentices.
It's a beautiful building,
thank
and
you.
it's been host to many landmark events. I know I've been here for career fairs, right? Apprentice signing ceremonies. You've hosted a few Wisconsin Building Trades Board meetings, and even meetings with developers. So we're very grateful for this beautiful space you guys have.
No, thanks.
Let's talk a little bit about the apprenticeship itself for your union. What does someone sign up for? And then what kind of person do you get out the other end once they're done with their apprenticeship?
Sure. So we have two different apprenticeships that we have. We have our limited energy, and that's what does the data, so the internet and some of the DAS systems and things like that, sound, comm stuff. Then we have our electrical apprenticeship, and those are the guys that are doing the lighting, the receptacles, the motors, and things like that, multiple things. So our inside apprenticeship is 4 years, and our limited energy one is 3 years. And you can get applications by just going online and filling that application out. And then you go through the process of an interview and an aptitude test, and then they'll do that. The one thing that is recommended, or that you will have to have, is a C or better in high school algebra.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So
if I'm thinking of a career change. You mentioned earlier, we've already covered how the trade itself is changing: solar, EV, data centers, smart building systems, and then the workforce shortage. You all are staring down. Everyone's staring down, but we are not exempt from that. In fact, Microsoft's president said publicly in March that the electrician shortage is the single biggest obstacle to their data center expansion in the United States. How is your training program planning to keep up with that demand, and what does it require of your apprentices?
Sure, that's a great question, and as we were talking, that's probably the thing that keeps me up at night too, worrying about how we're going to man all this work. So recently we put on the 3 biggest classes that we have in our local as far as apprentices. So we've maxed out what Madison College has available for space for us. We have to figure out how we can get more people in and completed faster, but still offer the quality training and make sure they come out trained to be good, safe electricians. So that's the challenge, because like I said, we've maxed out where we use Madison College, and so we're looking at different options, but we have to make sure that we can be able to sustain that and not outpace our funding for it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys have an excellent reputation. It's, I think, one of the biggest advantages we have in growing market share, and the IBEW is a great example of that. Also, maybe a little bit of a reputation for being one of the harder apprenticeships to get into. Is that reputation deserved? Is it true?
Yes, it's difficult to get in. Algebra requirement for that, you have to have a C or better in high school algebra. Graduated high school, and so you have to show that that you've graduated high school with a C or better, and then to go through that way. And then we do an aptitude test that's reading comprehension and math, and that's just due to the amount of information that we have to digest and get out and relay it. Looking at prints, reading certain diagrams to make sure that you wire the stuff properly so nobody gets injured.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any words of encouragement for someone who's listening who is like, oh yeah, some of that might be a challenge for me, but I want to join the IBEW, it's my dream. What would you tell those folks?
Sure, so I would say that you can do it, and there's other programs that we will help with to get you in and get you the training. We do have the CECW program, so that's like our pre-apprenticeship, where you can get in and you can work in that and actually see if this is a field that, one, you want to work in, and you can get some training along the line and see to upgrade your skills to be able to get to be able to get the apprenticeship.
What does CECW stand for?
So that's our construction worker and construction electrician. So these are like our pre-apprentices where you can get into this that classification and do the work before you get your apprenticeship.
So you're on job sites, correct?
Correct.
Learning, getting paid, and then hopefully building experience that makes you more attractive when you guys are going through your lists.
That's correct.
For the
yes.
apprenticeship program.
Yeah, and then people get to know you and say, well, wow, Steve's a great worker.
Mm-hmm. How is the membership changing in addition to that technology? I'm guessing your membership is becoming more diverse. We'll talk in a little bit about some specific efforts you guys have made towards that. But are you seeing that different relationships to the union, different expectations, different faces coming through your programs?
Yes, we become absolutely a lot more diverse than what it was, say even 20 years ago, where I think our efforts to reach out to the younger crowd and get it into the high schools and actually talking with some of the teachers and counselors that were there, where before it was the trades, you just went to the trades because you couldn't get anything else. Well, now I think those people are realizing you can make a really, really good living, and we're outpacing a lot of other occupations as far as our pay and definitely our benefits. Mm-hmm. That being in the trades is you can make a really good living and actually even take care of yourself in your retirement after you're done, and that's just with the benefits that we offer that a lot of other places can't and don't offer.
Mm-hmm. I've actually stood in your training center. It was not when you were here, it was at your old training center, so when I was newer too, and watched some organizers from your union do the math on the whiteboard for a bunch of students about their income and how it progresses throughout their apprenticeship, and the amount of money you not just make but are able to save towards down payment on a home, boat, car, whatever you decide. It was pretty impressive. It was, I believe, above $200,000 that you would come out with from your apprenticeship if you add up the compensation you make while you're training.
Sure. So, back early on, when I was just first starting too, we had our local retirement that we had. We weren't putting that much because we had just gotten and we were just starting it. Nowadays, like I tell the apprentices coming through, they'll be multi-millionaires by the time that they finish their career if they stay with working with the IBEW.
Yeah, it is an incredible opportunity. Let's talk a little bit about other growth. Madison itself is booming. I was driving in on John Nolan the other day, and I think I counted like 9 cranes as I was coming in. Housing, biotech, UW is always building something, healthcare. How is that diverse pipeline affecting you, your local, your members?
Sure. So I think it's great. It gives them lots of work opportunities, and it can be diverse depending on what they're working on. So like some of the stuff that you get into some of the biotech stuff, aspects of it, very interesting, very good, because they'll have maybe different things that you have to work on compared to say something like you're doing an apartment or an office building. So the different technologies in these buildings, and it offers our members different aspects of what you actually can be doing.
You mentioned the data centers. Those are some of the most electrically complex buildings that have ever been constructed. Do you think you and your members are ready for not just the work of building that digital infrastructure, but also maintaining it? Is that something you're preparing for as well?
That's exactly it. And so the technology is always evolving, and that's what we want to keep up with that too. And that was one of the reasons for the building that we have now, is so we can expand into that and make sure that we're training our members for what's coming in the future.
And I feel like you guys are the best case in point for, I just was reading an article this weekend where my skin crawled when they were calling our jobs temporary, but you know, those are not temporary, especially for you all. You will be in a lot of these buildings with these complex digital systems, constantly upgrading them, maintaining them, correct?
You are absolutely correct. They're always doing something, and that technology is not going away. Matter of fact, it's just expanding all the time. Temporary jobs, they're not really. Maybe years ago, when in construction in general, during the winter, you would have off. And even then, I don't know if I would even so much call it as a temporary job then, but you maybe weren't working the whole year round. Nowadays, you're working all year long, and I have a lot of members that stay with one contractor their whole career, and they're not off. And maybe going to a specific site for a small, maybe for a year or two, or maybe a month, depending on what they're doing. Maybe for that specific thing, it's temporary, but in general, our jobs are careers, and somebody could start in this career and finish it. Could be with one contractor, could be with a few different ones, depending on what you want to do and where you want to go. No different than what a lot of other people see in other occupations. They just don't look at it the same way.
Yes, that's the frustrating point, I think. I've gone off with Corey Gall about this before, of like, your members are not doing an apprenticeship for 3 or 4 years to do a temporary job. They're booked pretty much back to back on one project after another, and their work is very valuable to contractors, to the community. If we don't have them constantly working, we're gonna have big problems.
Yeah, the frustration I get, but I also think that it's an education problem with people that aren't familiar with the trades and how we actually work. And by meaning this, is somebody that's in an office building could be temporary too, because they could just come up and say, well, you know what, we need to lay you off. And now they're unemployed, where a lot of our members, they know that job is, hey, we know this building's got to be built. It's got to be built within the next 2 years. We'll be there for 2 years, and then it's on to the next one. Where other people think that their jobs are stable when they're not. But it's just the mindset that they have. So I think it's more of an education piece that we got to educate the general public on what our jobs actually do and what they actually are. They're definitely not temporary.
No, agreed. And thank you for being a part of that education. Let's take a little brief segue into the community and culture of your local in particular. And we can't not double negative talk about the holiday fantasy and lights here in Madison at Olin Park. It's my understanding you guys have been doing this for 35 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
How long has this tradition been going? Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about that tradition? Who works on the holiday fantasy and lights? What does it mean to your union? How, what's it like every year putting all those up?
Sure. So it's a great thing that we do for the community. Love doing it. We have our apprentices and our retirees that do that, and our retirees come to our building and they make the displays and relight them, do all the maintenance on them, and they just started in April of this year to get all the displays, the new ones built, and do the maintenance on them and relight them to be put up for this November to have the lights on to run through the holiday season. Started in Warner Park, and then it has grown over the years. And after a few years there, it had gotten so big, the city said you can't do it here anymore because it's backing up the traffic. And then it got moved to Olin Park, and that's where we've had it for the past years at Olin, so people can drive around in there and do it. Retirees absolutely love doing it. They love getting out, and they meet once a week, and they kind of all get together and they have lunch together then too. It's just it's a good thing that we like doing for our members with retirees to keep them together in the community, because it's grown over the years, and it's kind of neat when you hear like other generations now are starting to come through to see it.
It is. It's one of it's a big touchstone, I feel like, for the community when you see you guys out there setting up as things are starting to get cold and snowy out. And talking a little bit more about the union itself, the Electrical Workers Minority Caucus was founded in 1974 when Black and Hispanic delegates walked out of the IBEW International Convention to demand change. 50 years later, the IBEW International calls it the conscience of the union. Does Local 159 have an EWMC chapter, and what does your chapter look like here in Madison?
Sure, we do. We had a great chapter. These guys have been going really good. They're very active. We have a really good one, especially for the size of what we have. And so what they do, multitude of things that work at, they'll do like a day of service where they'll go work at certain areas around. They'll help out the River Food Pantry, and they hold other events around the area. Like they'll be out with Take a Kid Fishing and help along with that. Well, they're going to do a cleanup with the 2150 Local out of Milwaukee at one of the veteran cemeteries over Memorial Day. So they're very active, and that's a great program that's ran very good with our local.
Fantastic. You also have a Renew program for members under 35, and it's my understanding it's built specifically to develop the next generation of union leaders. Do you have an active Renew chapter here as well, or do you combine them with other locals? How does that work?
Sure. So we do have one that's here, and again, great job. They're doing good. They offer different events too. The highway cleanup, where they'll pick a highway and they'll go and they'll clean it up. Ours is right down here on Highway 51, where they'll go out and they'll do that. And they'll hold other events to bring in newer people and help them with that. And yeah, I have a couple guys on my staff that actually that's where they started.
Oh, so it's working.
It does work.
That's fantastic. Let's transition a little bit before we wrap up to kind of the pride of your craft. You know, electricity is invisible, The work you members do is inside the walls, underground, overhead, and when it's done right, nobody thinks about it at all. So what does pride and craft actually look like for a trade where all of your work is disappearing into the building?
Sure. So it kind of depends where it is. I mean, you will see some of our work, and guys take a lot of pride in that, where they'll be going around and they'll just say, "Hey, I worked on that building," or "Hey, I did that specific part. I put the lights up in this parking lot, or the outside lights, or I wired so and so's office, right? Or hey, I worked at Camp Randall, or something like that, or Epic." And especially when you see some of the buildings that Epic has, they're very distinct and neat, right? Not a lot of stuff you see. And even though that the stuff is, you don't see a lot of it, or you may not see a lot of it, a lot of it is that when you go to use it, that it's done right and it works. And they still take the pride to make sure that stuff is straight and it's working and it's safe and to code.
Mm-hmm. As we wrap up, I have a few just fun wild card questions for you.
Sure.
What was the last thing you built or fixed with your own hands? Not on a job site, but just around your house or the house of someone you cared about.
Well, interestingly enough, I had to run over to my brother's place to after we had the storms that came through, and they had lost power to a couple portions of their house. We had a sub panel in there, and it had tripped their breaker and their GFI breaker, and so I just had to go and reset it because they weren't familiar with just a GFI breaker. So that's what I was, and I was happy to do it for them, and they were able to get back up and run.
If you could do one day back in the field tomorrow, what job would you go back and work on, and why?
Sure. So before I took the position, I did a lot of instrumentation and control work, and that's what I really like doing that, because it gave me a wide variety of stuff to do, and I did a lot of work in power plants and other industrial places that used calibrations, that we would calibrate instruments and valves and things like that. I would go back to do that and go back and probably, I enjoyed working in power plants, so I would probably go back and probably pick up something with that. But I would definitely probably be looking in probably the instrument and control side of it, doing something, either manufacturing or in the power plants or something like that. I'd probably go back with the contract that I was working with to do that. Did work in refineries, power plants, manufacturing, health and food service stuff, where some of the bigger manufacturers of food supplies. So yeah, I enjoy doing that.
It sounds like really rewarding work, but we're glad you're here instead. Thank you, Mike, so much for your time, for your leadership, and for what IBEW 159 means to the city of Madison. If you're curious about an apprenticeship with the electricians, where should you go, Mike, to learn more?
Sure. So the best thing to do is go on our website, and then click under the apprenticeship tab and fill out the apprenticeship application there.
Great. And if you are exploring an apprenticeship with any of our other 14 crafts, you can go to www.wisconsin, spelled out, buildingtrades.org. Welcome back to Trade Talk Wisconsin. We're still here at IBEW Local 159 in Madison, and I want to shift gears in an important way. May, when we're recording this, is Mental Health Awareness Month. For people who build this state, that's a moment worth pausing for. The building trades have always been about more than the work. They're about the people doing it, which means making sure members and families are supported in every part of their lives. Construction workers die by suicide at roughly 4 times the national average. More workers die that way each year than from falls, electrocutions, and every other job site fatality combined. The same toughness that makes trade workers so extraordinary, that show up and push through culture, can also sometimes make it hard for someone to say, "I'm not okay, I need help." The Wisconsin Laborers Health Fund is doing something about it. Through the LEAN program, Laborers Escaping Adversity Now, they have hired 3 peer support specialists, not counselors, not clinicians, laborers, people who worked in this industry, who understand it all from the inside, and who are now dedicating their work to making sure members know they're not alone. And here's what I find particularly powerful. Mikey Richards, Matt Raasch, and Jon Bothun are starting this role right now, this month, in Mental Health Awareness Month. Mikey, Matt, and Jon, welcome, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's start with the basics for anyone listening who's not yet heard about Lean. Mikey, we'll start with you. Can you tell us what is it? What does a peer support specialist do?
Laborers Escaping Adversity Now is a program that was just initiated in order to help our people and their family members when they're facing mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and other adversities within their path. And our job is to provide support as someone who's been down the same path as those that are struggling with these issues and understands what our people and their family members are going through. So that's where we come into play at.
Let's talk about the three of you a little bit. Each of you came into this role from somewhere. Can you give us an idea of your background as a laborer and what made you want to do the work? And why don't we start with Jon?
Okay, well, what made me want to become a laborer, at the time I was going through drug court in Rock County and just thinking of things, jobs and things that maybe I would like to do. And construction, I always liked the idea of construction, using my hands and being mobile, being around. So my brother-in-law worked at J.P. Cullen. This was in 2017, 2018 when I was in drug court. And I approached him, about working at J.P. Cullen. And at the time he was like, he told me no, because he didn't trust me, because I had been an addict for so long and I had broke so many bridges that he told me no. And so I found a construction place. I actually, it was in Beloit, and I worked there for 4 years, and I proved myself to my brother-in-law that I can keep a job, and then I can maintain my sobriety. So he finally, got me a spot there, and I started in 2022 out at Epic in Verona, and it was a big learning experience out there. That place is huge, but yeah. So I worked out there on nights for a couple years, and then I finally got to get on to days. So then I worked days out there for about a year, and then I got switched out to University Hospital in Madison. And that's where I met my BA dean, and he had told me about this program that LAUNA was going to start, because I had opened up to him a little bit and told him a little bit about my past, as being an addict, and how much I really enjoyed and how much I really just wanted to help people. And that's why I thought, my purpose on life was, was to help people. And so when he told me about this, he told me, I think you'd be good for this, I think you should apply for it. So I did, and not really, thinking that I would get the position or whatever. It was a long process, but, after my first interview, talking with Tracy, it went really well. I was able to open up to her and talk to her very easy about, the things I had been through in my life. And my struggles with addiction and mental health. Yeah, after I started, getting into the process of applying and all that, it was like a 5-month process, and it was hard. After going through it and getting through that whole process and getting to know these guys and getting to know more about what the program's gonna be, I'm really grateful to be able to be here, and I hope we're able to help a lot of people.
And for those listening that may not understand some of the lingo, a BA is
A business agent.
We'll move down to Mikey. Go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you came from and what made you want to do this work?
I joined the union because I was, fed up with non-union work and wanted to feel appreciated of, whatever I did at work. And, I kept my wife's stepdad at the time. He kept telling me, like, man, give Clark a call. He'll treat you right. He'll treat you good. But I was always scared. We're scared to take that first few steps when, all we're thinking about is 10 miles down the road, every little negativity. So that'll hinder us from taking those first few steps. But I eventually called Clark up and we got along just great. He actually came to my town to sign me up, and I just rolled out of bed. It's early in the morning, and I had flip-flops on, basketball shorts, and tank top. I'm sure my hair was a mess, and here I come rolling out the car, and scrawny little kid. I mean, I'm not a kid, but yeah, he was like, yeah, Mikey, I can get you. I got 2 jobs starting. I can put you on Monday. You can go to La Crosse and do some demolition work, or you can go to Whitehall. And at the time, that was a 10-minute drive. And he was like, yeah, one's demolition, one's mason tending. He said, if you can count block, you can mason tend, Mikey. You can count blocks. So I'm like, okay, hell yeah, I can count some damn block. So I'm like, yeah, sign me up for that. And little did I know I was bamboozled. But yeah, love Clark. The crazy thing is I love mason tending. I'm a very physical person, so I really like that. I like to move, so it was actually a really great fix for me. And first coming into the union, I was telling my wife that being a union member is gonna be so great for my sobriety, my recovery. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be awesome, babe. And she kind of brought me down to earth, like, babe, you're so naive. There's so much drug use and all this stuff running rampant through there. I'm like, nah, babe. It's never gonna be like that. And then 6 months into my career as a laborer, we ended up losing a member to overdose. And if this program was around back then, that could have saved his life, instead of having to go to his funeral. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And Matt?
I got in construction. I'm at. I've been a laborer with Local 113 out of Milwaukee for 11 years now. I came in with Spancrete when it was still Spancrete. Worked there for 4 years. Enjoyed working with my hands always. I always loved building things when I was a kid. Just putting stuff together in the garage with my friends or my dad. And it was always fascinating to me. I didn't really excel in school, so that wasn't going to be my path. And when I was introduced to laborers back in 2015, I took it and ran with it and enjoyed every minute of it. I got in with precast. Building huge structures and watching big wall panels tipped up was always fascinating to me. To see a crane pick up a 60,000-pound panel and just set it like it was nothing I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So I did that, and I did it well. Always was in recovery through that whole process. I found recovery in 2010 through inpatient treatment. So it's always been a part of my life to have a job with recovery also. I do a lot of service work in the recovery community, and I've done that as part of my own program to stay clean. It's not just about meetings. It's not just about doing the things, the motions. It's about fellowshipping afterwards and running a meeting and putting chairs away and making coffee. Something simple like that can change somebody's life, and that's where I started with it. The time came to move to the area, so I moved from the Neenah area and back into Waukesha. That was how I got hooked up with Spancrete. And along that journey, I was able to get into the AODA volunteers at Waukesha County, so I started doing that. That was working with the drug and alcohol treatment court people. I was going into the jail at the time. I was doing Huber at the time, so it was a lot of giving back to the community after my hard struggles. I was unemployable throughout my whole addiction, and once I got clean, I was able to hold a job and do the next right thing and leave a job with having another one lined up. And once this came through, I went back to Wells in September of 2024, I believe, August of 2024. Stayed with them for a year and a half about, and then this placard came in the mail for this program, and I talked to my wife about it. I was like, what do you think of this? She's like, this was literally made for you. You need to do this. Hurry up and apply, because there couldn't be a better opportunity for you to actually make a difference, because you already do it, so you already know the stuff to do. So I emailed back and talked with Tracy on the phone first, and that went well. And then I went through, like Jon was saying, the interview process was very lengthy. It was hard to stay focused at task at hand while this was going on in the background without putting my 2 weeks in, without really kind of letting it out. It wasn't to spite the company or anything, but it was also, I didn't want to burn bridges either. So when I told my boss when it was time to move on to this, he was 100% behind me. They've always known my recovery background. They've known I've done stuff I used to bring in on my sober date. I used to bring in treats for everybody on the job site because that was like a big deal to me. Hopefully with this new program, getting out there and us getting out there and being seen, we can kind of change that stigma that it does matter. Your life matters to us. That's why we're here. Like, come talk to us if you need us. We're here. Like, that's what we're here for. So I am thrilled to death to get in the role that we are in right now and be able to, like Jon said, help as many and as far and wide as we can. We've been busy right now the last couple weeks getting on board with treatment centers, touring the different centers around the state, getting them on board with what we're doing. Not one person that I have met has been like, oh, we don't want your guys. Like, they've all opened us with open arms and cannot wait to partner with us. So this is huge. This is going to be making a huge difference. I want to see it go nationwide, but to be the third state, that's all right. It's a start. So I'm glad for the opportunity.
And so this, you alluded just now, so I want to catch it quick. This is an initiative that was started by another region of the laborers, correct? And the international kind of adopted it.
Yes.
Is now trying to roll it out to other areas of the country. Is that correct?
It started in Massachusetts in 2018, out east, and then St. Louis picked it up. Our council members went down and heard their pitch, and that was all they needed to hear. Was we had 7 laborers lost last year to suicide, and that's too many. So they wanted to do something about it, so this was created to do that. So here we are.
Let's talk a little bit about that idea of opening up to each other. Again, lean is kind of built on the concept that laborers members are more likely to talk to another member than a counselor or a hotline. And Mikey, you talked about this in a really important way when you were sharing a little bit about yourself. Why does it matter who's on the other end of that conversation when someone needs help?
I feel like just for the simple fact is, I mean, me personally, it's like if I'm struggling to open up to somebody, I'm not gonna go to somebody that hasn't been into the same shoes that I've been. They haven't walked down the same road that I've walked on. They haven't walked barefoot in the mud, same path that I've went on. So I think it's very important for other laborers to know that we are laborers and that we've been into the same dark alleys as most of our guys. So I think it's very crucial.
And just for them not to be ashamed to ask for help. I mean, that's a big stigma out on the job sites. We all, Matt, Mikey, we all know big, tough construction workers, you know. But it doesn't have to be like that. Everybody in life struggles, you know. And I think that they see us more as one of their peers, like because we've been out on the field, you know. We've sweat out there, we've bled out there with them. So we know really what it feels like to be out there. And for us to just be able to go out there and, you know, let them know our stories too. Like, we have been in dark places too, and we have came out of these dark places, you know, and there's a reason why we came out, and the reason is to be able to come and help you guys, you know. So they shouldn't be afraid to talk to another human being, you know, if you have a problem. And hopefully when they see us out there, you know, they'll be able to relate with us right away.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Walk me through what it actually looks like when a member reaches out or when you're on a job site. What happens from that first contact? What is your role?
I've actually had that happen already. I had a phone call already come in. As a member that was in need, he was having a bad day. I won't say what his bad day was, but it was a rough one. And I left the communication lines open. Anytime you need to call me, here's my number. This is what it is. This is what I can help you with. If you are ready and want it, let me know. And that's where we left it when we toured the job site. We had somebody come also in need right after our spiel. When I talked, we had a member come up after we were done and ask for help also with mental health. And we guided that person, gave them the resources they needed to succeed. As far as our roles are right now, we're still in process of training, so some of it is limited for what we can do yet, but once we're live, it was a good dry run. We'll put it that way, for us to really be out there for them, and it worked. It went well on both cases, and I heard from that person later in the week. They were doing better. They were out of the woods, but they were still making the strides to get where they needed to be. So that was it's working. I see it working, and we're not even live yet, so I feel like we're going to make an impact when we go live and everything is available. So
yeah, we were at the job site for like a half hour, and you know, Matt already with his story was touching people, and somebody, you know, really got touched by listening to Matt's story, and it was you know, it was kind of not a, I don't know, I don't want to say it was a cool thing, but it was nice to see, you know, Matt being able to go out and have somebody be touched by his story, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's what we all three hope to do, you know. Hopefully we're able to touch people and help people.
And catch them at that moment of willingness, right?
Yes,
Whether
and
it's in that
all
moment right
about.
there, planting a seed for later.
Right.
Yes, that's what it's all about, yeah.
We talked about this a little in the intro. You're peer support specialists, not clinicians. Where does your role end and a professional referral begin? How do you know when someone needs maybe more than what you can offer them on a phone call or a job site conversation?
Well, if they're suicidal, or if they're talking about harming others, I think that'd be a good example.
Are these services available to families of union members too, or just the union member themselves?
Families are included in that. Anybody under their plan. That would be spouses, children, and things like that, of that nature, yeah. They're all included. So it might not necessarily be a member. It could be their wife or their husband or kids that are struggling. We've been doing diligent work with the area adolescent mental health facilities as well, getting them on board, because it's not just our laborers that are in the field, so their kids might be having problems. So we have a couple resources ready to go for them as well that we're working on getting and establishing. So everybody will be covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this affects everyone,
It does.
right?
It's a family
Yes.
thing. That's what the labor is. We're family. That's
Right.
how we like to see it.
Trying to break generational curses.
Yes.
What do you, the three of you, wish more construction workers understood about asking for help? What would you say to that member who's maybe listening right now, or who you talk to on a job site and takes what you talk about home with them but isn't quite ready to reach out for help?
Nobody should suffer in silence. And that's a big problem. Like, people want to just hide it because their coworker might be ragging on them or giving them the business about whatever. It's job site banter. We kind of poke at each other already.
Yeah.
It's much like high school, I've found. Like, I left high school 25 years ago, but when I got back in the trades, I got back into it because a lot of the mentalities are still that. We still have jokes about each other. We still, just to make the day go by. Our jobs are hard. So how can we make it a little lighter? We'll poke fun of each other. We'll, whatever it is. And sometimes people take that to heart. They don't have thicker skin, so it affects them differently sometimes. So we got to be careful with that. And nobody should suffer in silence. That's why we are here, because our number is going to be out there eventually. Call us if you want to talk it out. Like, I'll answer that phone 24/7. We are here for that. Like, if you need to have a vent, like, man, this guy was such an a-hole at work today. I gotta
Yeah.
talk it out, man. I've dealt with them. I get it. Like,
Right.
No.
I left a non-union company. That's why I left, because they were so yelling and screaming at you for no reason. I just didn't want to live. I didn't want to work for somebody like that anymore. So I left, and it affects people differently. So don't be afraid to reach out. That's why we're here. It's tough.
Yeah, this work can be heavy. Have you all talked yet so far in your training about how you're going to care for yourselves while you're doing it? It's a lot to take on.
I stay strong in my meetings. A good friend of mine that I've known for recovery since I got started in it, he's been clean 40 years. One of my closest friends when I was coming up in the Fox Valley area, when I was getting clean up there, still going strong, but he put it to me straight out. Gotta stay at your meetings. You gotta stay grounded. You can't, because you're in this role, now you think you're a counselor, you don't have to go to your meetings because you do it for a living. It's completely the wrong mentality to have. We have to stay. I stay at my meetings. I usually do 3 a week. And I volunteer. I volunteered last night at the Aspen Center, so I do things to let myself be free of it. I can leave it at the meeting. I can have my say, and I can leave it there. And I have 40 people around me that can, hey man, that was all right. You need anything more? Like, they get me. So stay grounded that way has been huge. And I continue, and will continue to do that for myself. I'm not sure what these guys haven't planned, but I think we all have our own ways of battling and dealing with our stuff. To leave it at that.
Yeah, staying humble, and for me, my family is huge for me. Being around family, and like Matt said, you have to stay grounded. You really got to stay grounded. You got to keep boundaries. I like to just have some alone time too, just for my mind to let loose and just get into a show or, something like that. Yeah, I like to get out and like walk and hike and, do all that kind of stuff. So play sports. I like to be a kid sometimes.
That's important. Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely good to be grounded. I try to keep positive people in my life who are gonna, uplift me, especially when I'm, feeling negative or have negative thoughts. It's always good to open up and let those emotions out. My wife, she's really good at that for me, so I really appreciate her. my daughter, she keeps me humble, keeps me on my toes, and you know, probably the best part about this, one of the best parts about this is I get to, you know, wake her up for school, and you know, she's so happy to see that I'm able to take her to school. So she's, you know, Daddy, and hugs me, and we get in the car and we jam out. I don't know if you guys know K-pop Demon Hunter, but it's a show on Netflix. So we got I got that playlist going. So as soon as we jump in the car, we're driving down the street and, you know, singing Golden and Takedown, and so yeah, that it's really good for my soul.
Being a dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. K-pop Demon Hunter is part of the self-care.
Yeah.
Gotta have some.
No judgments though, please.
No, absolutely not, Mike. We don't judge people.
Well, as we talked about before this, I'm so excited that the laborers are leading by implementing the lean program, that you are all here. You're in the thick of it, getting ready. I know we will have you back. I can't wait for like a year from now to have you all back and talk a little bit about how things are going. What do you hope you have to talk about if we were to sit down a year or two from now about what you've accomplished, what relationships you've built with members, and where the program is at?
And just how many members we've helped, and how the word has really gotten out there. Hopefully other trades, like Matt was saying earlier, hopefully other trades will pick up on this and see how successful it is, you know. And construction sites can stop the stigma of, you know, being big, tough construction workers. We don't have problems. We ain't got to talk to nobody. You know, we can handle everything. But, you know, in life, we know that's not true. So hopefully all that will, you know, we'll be able to look back on and say that we've really been able to help a lot of people, you know. That's what I'm hoping.
Same.
Yeah, I know these guys are
Definitely.
same.
Well, Jon, Mikey, Matt, thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
the time to talk. I'm, like we said, really excited to hear more, and I know you guys are super busy. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
taking
for
the time.
having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
This was
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when a union decides that showing up for members means showing up for all of it. If you're a Wisconsin laborer and something you've heard today hit close to home for yourself or for someone you know, reach out to the Wisconsin Laborers Health Fund. The LEAN program is there. These 3 peer support specialists are there. You don't have to figure it all out alone.